Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Dairy Hour podcast. I am your host, as always, Val Lavigne, and I'm actually here solo today, and I have some really, really big news for you guys. This is the last time that I'm going to announce the opening of the Dairy Hour podcast. We are going to be going through some exciting changes. There will still be a podcast. I will still be hosting it. All of that will stay true, but we're going to be going through a really cool refresh, rebranding, and even a new name. So stick around for the end of the episode and I will share that with you. This is a really special episode to me, and one that I actually wasn't, if you'd asked me a few months ago, it's not something that I would have even thought was on the horizon. However, there comes a time where you reevaluate things and decide which direction that they are going. And I decided that the podcast has taken turns all on its own to become more of a broad agriculture podcast, not just a dairy podcast. And that's exciting because all parts of agriculture are exciting. And I love sharing all parts of agriculture, not just dairy. So that's kind of the route that we're going to be going. And my apologies that I'm a touch late releasing this week, as I've been battling some allergies the last few days, and my voice, if you can tell, is still a touch raspy, but we're going to get through it and it's going to be great. So this is a closing of one chapter and an opening of another. This podcast has, for the last over 2 years been really fun and exciting, and I have enjoyed all of the guests that I've had on. Everyone has something new to bring to the table, and everyone in agriculture has their own story. I have met some amazing people all over the country and even in parts of the world through doing the Dairy Hour podcast. And I am so grateful for that and grateful for the connections that I've made. All of the stories that I've heard and shared have been just absolutely amazing. I really couldn't do it without you guys listening and without the amazing guests that I have on. So with that, I guess I'll get into a little bit. I started the Dairy Hour podcast, a few years ago, because basically one day in my head, I was like, I think I'm going to start a podcast. I think that's, that seems like something that's right up my alley. And, leave it to me to be the one that starts a podcast. I had no idea how to even make a podcast, where to put it, what to do with it, but we figured things out as always. And here we are. We've definitely figured out different ways to do different things, do things differently, edit things differently. And technology is amazing, in parentheses, when it works, because when certain things in my routine of technology and getting the podcast uploaded do not work, I get very frustrated, but it's fine. We'll get through it. It's all good. And, my goals were to just talk to different people. And I really didn't have a set timeline, vision, anything. I was kind of going through that oh, they sound fun. Let's have them on the podcast. Oh, that sounds cool. Let's have them on the podcast. And it evolved into so much more than just a visiting dairy farms from around the world podcast, whether it be someone in ag business, someone who does something completely different, but I felt like their story could apply to things in agriculture. It's just evolved so much, and really, the name and the branding is needing to evolve with how the podcast has actually gone through. Been amazing to just meet all the new people, have different people suggest other people to be on the podcast. And yeah, like I said earlier, the connections that you make and the people that you meet is just so neat. It's really fun to sit down and find out all the things that you have in common, or that you may have a totally different way of doing things, but you both have the same intentions. And I think just as human beings, that's such an important thing as we go through life. Not everyone's journey is going to look the same, and that's okay. And just having those end goals in mind and figuring out the best way for you to get there that's what's important. And that's why I love sharing stories, because I hope that you listening, while you may find entertainment, find just relaxation in listening to these people's stories that I have on, even if it's someone who does something completely different in agriculture than what you do, maybe there's something that you find out or hear about that you say, that might really actually resonate in my life. Let's give that a try. And that's what it's all about because, I guess the hot term is called gatekeeping. And we don't need to gatekeep in agriculture. We need to share our methods and share our ways of being successful with everybody so that everyone has a shot at being successful, because I have a feeling that there's a place for everybody in agriculture, and there's no need to knock other people down so that you can rise above them. I feel like we should all raise each other up together. I think that that is so important. So it's been really great, and it's going to be sad to see the dairy hour name leave, as it's something that speaks volumes about me because I am truly a dairy girl at heart. But I want to make sure that we are opening this up to everyone in agriculture, not just people in dairy. And I really want to, broaden the horizons and bring even more of a conversational, fun feel to it, because my favorite podcasts to listen to are more of a conversational, like, hey, let's just chat. Let's share a story. What's going on today? All of those different kind of things. And I really want to bring that to light. So a little bit about how I decided that I'm going to even go about doing this rebranding of the podcast. There is this awesome lady who's also been on the podcast, Emily Rushell, and huge shout out to her. She helped me design a keynote that I gave back in early June. And she is just a phenomenal woman. She knows how to ask the right questions. She knows how to get your brain to basically come across the answers on its own by just asking the right questions. And it's crazy how she does that. But had a little bit of time left, and I was like, Emily, I'm just feeling stagnant in the podcast. I need to figure something out. I want to get it growing more. I want to do different things. I want to open up the boundaries. And I said, what do I do? And she looked at me and she said, have you considered changing the name? And my initial reaction was, oh my gosh, no, I could never change the name. Like, I love it so much. I love the logo. Like, I love the dairy hour. Like, it's my thing. And she just kind of nodded her head and smiled a little and said, okay. And then it kind of got left at that. So hence the seed was planted. And she definitely knew right what she was doing, because that's just who Emily is. She's phenomenal in that way. And so the seed was planted, and I brought it up to a couple ag friends a few weeks later. And I said, man, I'm really feeling kind of stagnant in the podcast. As women in agriculture, like, what do you girls think? And as if Emily planted a seed, which she did not, they both looked at me and said, well, have you considered changing the name of the podcast? And that was already seeded in my brain. And then it took root 100%. So then I said, okay, I have to change the name. Here we go. Then comes finding a name, because, oh my gosh, there's already a lot of podcasts out there. So finding an original name, something that has agriculture roots, all the different things, is pretty tough. And one that invites the right kind of people, because I want to find the circle. I want to make sure that I have the circle with my kind of people in it, because that's important to me. So we have decided that the name of the podcast is now going to be Pull Up a Bale. So I just want the podcast to be a spot where, it's a conversation where you have so much fun and you get so involved and invested in it that you want to pull up a bale, join our circle, and enjoy our conversations together, because that's what agriculture and sharing our traditions, our legacies, sharing our ideas, sharing our inspirations, that's what it's all about. And I want this to be a space where people can come and, almost relax. Like, you can kind of turn your brain off, but you might pick up a few things along the way and just enjoy the good story along the way of the journey through the podcast. I don't know if that actually made sense, but here we are. So it's going to have a completely different look, similar feel. I don't think that I'm changing too much as far as the meat of the podcast goes, besides maybe a few different little things, or maybe asking a few different questions that maybe get outside of a little bit more comfort zone type questions that I've always stuck to. I want to bring the same fun and energy to the conversations that I always have. maybe even plus some. We'll see where the river flows, but we're gonna go for it, and you're gonna see a new look, a new name, and it is going to be so much fun. So with that, I will be announcing a release date for the rebranding soon. I am just trying to get a few quote unquote ducks in a row before I do that, because this is our busy season here on the farm and with the catering. So trying to make sure that I get everything done in a timely, orderly fashion is sometimes a little bit tricky and sometimes leads to some late nights and extra early mornings. But we're going to get the job done for you guys. And I cannot wait to share it with you. I can't wait to share the new look. We did a photo shoot this past weekend. I have got some really great inspiration and some really great photos out of it that bring the new fun pull up a bale feel to the branding. And I am so excited. So please make sure that you are subscribed wherever you are listening to this channel, because it will just change names. You won't have to go find it anywhere else. It's still going to be here. Follow along at Dairy Gal Val on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those social media platforms. And you can also sign up to be on the email list so that you get first looks on what's going on via your email. So check out dairygalval.com. Sign up to be on the email list. Within the next few days, there's also going to be a fun freebie on there for you guys to grab for putting your email in, which I hope becomes very, very beneficial to you guys. And I am so excited about the new things that are going to be happening. I have decided it's been a really tough week. I lost my best barn girl, Tanya, this past week, and it has been very rough, needless to say. This was already happening then, but I've kind of decided to, I'm just going to start full sending things that I'm doing and stop holding back, because the best growth happens outside of your comfort zone. And I need to remind myself that, as much as I remind other people that. Sometimes giving myself that advice is the hardest thing that I can do. So with everything in my life, it is going to start being outside of the comfort zone, getting that growth, doing the things. So be prepared. We're going for it. We're doing the things. So I hope that you'll join me for doing the things. Join me over on social, join the email list so you can hear first what's going on. And of course, join me here on what will be now the new Pull Up a Bale podcast. And I hope you'll pull up a bale with me. I can't wait. And we will talk to you soon. Stay tuned.